Welcome, everybody.
Think that General Patton was woke? I don't think so.
Oh, this is from that, the Coleman thing.
What do you think?
The super spreader event.
Mike, was he woke? I don't think so. I don't think he was too woke. He was the exact opposite. You know what woke
Yeah, this is like when your dad starts talking to you about Mary Jane.
means? It means you're a loser.
That was
So clear, you know what I mean? So it's just to compare, so if you're thinking about even calling General Patton a loser, stop thinking. Thinking is not encouraged in this area at all. Hi, everybody.
was President Trump in Alabama at the weekend at a record-breaking...
Wait a minute. Sebastian Gorka, flag on the wall, the double eagle, bunch of gear, and, if I may, Wonder Woman figurine on the wall. I had no idea how he was so woke. Wonder Woman. Huh. You don't say. Wonder Woman doesn't... It's good for you. All right, sure. Why not?
Rally, and we are honored to have my former boss with us here
Why did he kick you loose?
on our national
Oh, he's just no longer your boss because he doesn't really pay anybody for their work.
radio show, America First, across the country. President Trump, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Sebastian.
Mr. President, let's start at the beginning. How different was your approach to national security? There was no wokeism under the U.S.
Let's start with that. Sorry, that woke ad they keep complaining about from the CIA and all that was all filmed during the Trump years. The one with the cartoon with the girl and the other one with the lady with anxiety. But you think like Biden just rolled in and greenlit that shit on 3 days before he took office?
U.S. military, when you were commander-in-chief, talk to our millions of listeners across the country about your
hundreds of thousands.
plans for Afghanistan, the conditions-based withdrawal, and what we have
the conditions were we're never going to withdraw.
The disaster we've witnessed in the last 3 weeks.
Maybe the greatest, most embarrassing disaster we've ever witnessed in our
And if anybody knows embarrassing disasters, it's Donald Trump.
country. The difference was almost, first of all, it was the opposite. It was the exact opposite. We knocked out ISIS. When I took in...
You knocked out ISIS, so they just germinated out of nowhere. They're going to show the guy in blue running by, aren't they?
When I took over, ISIS was all over
Bye.
the Middle East. We knocked out one...
Yes, there. See the guy waving and running? That they keep cutting to this footage. I don't want to tell them how to do their show or do them any favors, but what you do is you wait till this guy passes and you only focus on the people clinging to the wheels. If you want to paint this picture that it's awful. But in reality, like, look at this asshole. That guy's not Taliban. He made it out to the tarmac. He's not Taliban.
100% of the ISIS caliphate. I notice now they call it ISIS-K, so you'll explain that. But
because you don't understand?
We knocked out 100% of the ISIS
Thanks, Robert.
caliphate. We took out al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, and you know what else and who else we took out.
They're tearing down graven images. This is exactly the same as they're going to come after Thomas Jefferson next. I almost said George Jefferson. Probably.
We took out plenty, and we were in total control in terms of Kabul and in terms of Afghanistan. They weren't even close to us. We were going to get people, because I believe in getting out. 21 years is enough. And we're
what? Oh, so 21 years is enough. So we would have stayed in another year? Because it's been 20. Is this another 1917 moment?
We're like a police force over there, and they've got to take care of themselves. And as you know better than anybody, I predicted as soon as we leave, they would stop fighting. And they were...
Oh, yeah? He predicted it. Ladies and gentlemen, can I be any more correct? Man, I'm tired of being right. He predicted they'd stop fighting as soon as we left. So that's why he never left, because he knew it would be just like this, and he's a coward.
Fighting for a lot of money. They were among the highest paid soldiers in the world, paid for by the American taxpayer. So that's exactly what happened.
And big fans of pastels. I mean, obviously this fellow's in earth tones.
We were going to do is get our citizens out, take out other people who deserve to be taken out. Then we were going to knock the hell out of the bases. But before we did that, we were going to take out all of our military equipment. I said down to the nails and the screws and the bolts, everything out nice
Why?
and easily, and then we take out
And by the way, he means all the stuff we gave to the Afghan military. So if anybody wants to fight back, you're on your own.
the soldiers and probably blow up the bases.
Probably. Yeah, probably. And basically he knows that that's the plan next, so he's going to go, I told him to do that.
Because why should we give them to somebody else to use? So that was it. And Bagram we were going to keep because Bagram is near China, near Iran, and also...
Wait, Bagram we were going to keep? So we weren't going to get out. How do we keep Bagram Air Base with no soldiers? I don't understand.
in Afghanistan, so it covered a lot of territory.
It did cover a lot of territory, mostly Afghanistan.
So I would have kept that.
How do you keep it?
And it's a great area for exactly what it represents. So
What does it represent? Air bases in countries we're no longer in, except we stay in them?
you know, they spend billions and billions of dollars building it. That's the big Air Force base.
So they was going to turn it into a Trump Tower Bagram.
So I think the biggest in the world, actually. So
Not even close.
we would have kept
And Bagram's not the biggest, not even close to the biggest airfield in the world.
that. Instead, we fled like there was no reason for it.
We fled like there was no reason for it. Asshole, what part of leaving involves staying? This is friggin' ridiculous.
The soldiers come out last, and the army.
Yeah, the soldiers come out last. We blow up the airfields, we bomb the equipment, and then the soldiers just hitchhike out.
The military comes out last after the people and after all of the $83 billion worth of the most highly sophisticated military equipment
No.
anywhere in the world. It is a disgrace what's taken place here and an embarrassment to our country. This is the greatest embarrassment in the history of our country.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, if I were you, I would be embarrassed that, say, while I was president, 570,000 Americans died, and that's the low count.
There's never been anything like that. And I had meetings through telephone calls with Abdul. And I explained to Abdul that if any soldiers, any Americans are hurt or anything, these were all conditions. We had a conditions-based deal. And they were living up to them. And when they didn't, we bombed the hell out of them. But they were living up to them. A couple of times they got slow, and we bombed them.
They just got slow. They were, veet.
And in 18 months, we haven't lost one American soldier
Well, yeah, because you traded away that for us leaving on a specific date.
because of that agreement. And if they started
And they still haven't, by the way.
hedging into Kabul, we sent out the F-18s and we knocked the hell out of them, and they went immediately back. But we really didn't have to do that. He understood that they were going to be treated more harshly than any country, any time in the history of the world.
Well, I think Japan would disagree. And Germany. And also everything before World War I. And most of the South.
And he understood that. And we had some very good discussions, some very tough discussions, but they understood that. We would have gotten all our Americans out, all of everybody else.
Yeah, everyone would have left. If it had just done it my way, which I never did. It would have been so perfect if we had just followed the plan I never had and implemented it in a way I never did.
That we wanted has to be vetted very carefully. Right now, they're just coming out by the thousands and guaranteed that.
Well, yeah, that's why they're going to Qatar and to German military bases and the like. They're not coming to the United States yet.
There'll be many terrorists
Yeah, lots of terrorists just in there. You know what I mean? Mostly the kids.
in that group. And then we were going to take out the military equipment, and it would have been very simple. In fact, when we left, nobody even would have known.
Yeah, The Taliban would have woken up. Like, how'd they get out of here?
And then they can continue to fight their civil war or whatever they've been doing for hundreds of years.
So the concern for women and all that stuff that Gorka and those guys were pretending to show, that's all bullshit then. So, because that quote-unquote civil war that they've been doing for hundreds of years, even though fucking Taliban's only been around since 94, it includes all the anti-women religious beliefs that, are most concerning to anybody with a soul.
Mr. President, the lying legacy media is supporting the Biden administration narrative that this is your plan, this is what you would have...
No, your date. The only thing that Trump owns of this is the May 1st date, which is basically the next day is when the Taliban started marching across the entire country, assuming that we would be out, even with the pushed timeline. And then, of course, his agreement with them to not harm any soldiers until we were out, and by whatever that date was. Now, that date got extended to the 31st, but after the 31st, we have no agreement that they're not going to harm soldiers that are on their land if we've decided to leave. And then, of course, we don't need to be there to straight bomb the landing fields.
Done. It is clear you've just communicated you had a conditions-based withdrawal plan.
Yeah, it was so conditional that the conditions would never have been met, and therefore, here we would have stayed.
And you would have kept Bagram. What would you be doing right now?
And again, this is new. What the fuck are you talking about? We would have kept Bagram. We would have left the country, taken all of our materials out, all our soldiers. We would have taken every last screw from equipment, and then keep Bagram. How? This is just goofy.
If you were the commander-in-chief...
Yeah, and you're not, and we're all very happy.
If one U.S. citizen were hurt in Afghanistan, what would your response be, and how would you...
Yeah, just one person is hurt by two ISIS suicide bombers, while the Taliban is keeping up their end of the deal to not harm anybody, and lots of citizens and individuals that helped us, or people who were enjoying the freedoms that we helped provide over these times, were trying to escape. And they're running through the streets, and they're trying to find ways to drive out of the state, or out of the city, and then into the countryside, and then across the border. What would you have done with all these civilians everywhere?
Use our special forces.
Well, we're in a much worse position right now than we were when I had it.
When you mean when we were still going to stay?
It was absolutely, we had it so locked down, we would have been able to leave so easily. And so...
Why didn't you?
I mean, it would have just been a beautiful process.
Yeah, it would have been gorgeous. Everyone would have gotten a Hawaiian lei before they got on the plane. It would have been, gold leaf toilets.
And then the only question was probably you bomb the bases, because why should we give those bases to others? So we
to others, but except for Bagram, which we're keeping by not leaving. Fucking gibberish.
We would bomb the hell out of the bases, the various bases, other than Bagram, which we would have kept. But
how do you get out and keep Bagram? He keeps saying this. No one's going to press him on this?
If you think about it...
I am thinking about it, and it's fucking giving me a brain cramp, you dipshit.
How can it be worse? So now it's a much...
How can it be worse? We could have these kind of bombings because the agreement's up and the Taliban's moved across the country and the ISIS is now fighting with the Taliban and wants to, kill soldiers, and we could just be staying there all during the winter while this happens.
More difficult position because they have thousands of hostages, American hostages. Jimmy Carter had a small number of hostages. Now they have thousands.
Did he? I don't remember when Jimmy Carter took hostages. Do you guys remember? Is that how he got elected the first time?
Of American hostages, so it's much different. I would absolutely have a plan, but I don't want to say what the plan is.
Because you don't have one. Fuck you. What are you going to do? Use it now?
Because I think it would be inappropriate.
Oh, it would be inappropriate? I agree. Your plan would be inappropriate because your plan involves staying while we leave, blowing up our gear while we use it, and leaving our soldiers until the airplanes are gone. Fucking hell.
But the idea that you would be taking orders from the Taliban like Joe Biden is?
Yeah, that's a genuine question. Like that's happening.
Ridiculous, because I dealt with Abdul and everything.
Yeah, and you agreed to get out if he didn't harm our people. Just doesn't sound real macho when you put it that way.
Everybody else, and we were totally in charge. And they would have never come in. They wouldn't have even tried to come into Kabul, even though Ghani, I always said he's a crook, 100%.
Yeah, even if Ghani left with $168 million, which I knew he would, you know what I mean? But we kept giving him money, but I knew he was going to do that. And even if he left and the entire government collapsed, they would know not to come into the city.
And crooked, a bad leader, but a crooked guy. And he had the United States Senate wrapped around his finger. That was his only strength. He had Congress wrapped around his finger. That was his only strength. He wasn't liked. He wasn't respected. The government was corrupt. And I always said, I said it to you a couple of times. I said, as soon as we are thinking about leaving, he'll be the first one out the door. And that's that.
But you would have gotten out quietly and no one would have noticed.
Yes, he took, based on what I hear, he took plenty of cash.
He did.
Cash.
Since I last saw you in Trump Tower in New York, let's talk about another connected issue. The situation on the southern border has escalated. It's even worse than it was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that wall is just shit. I don't know what it is, but like we literally had better immigration when Obama was running things, and there was no wall. Do you think the wall is actually to blame? Like, do you think people are being attracted to our southern border just to see the amazing wall that they can climb for $5?
Talk to us about what you're witnessing.
We had the greatest wall, and we had the greatest, and all they had to do was nothing.
And how it is different from what you did for all the American people when you were the commander-in-chief.
So when I left, we had the strongest border.
Mainly because of COVID.
Southern border.
COVID.
In the history of our country.
In the COVID border.
We had built almost 500 miles of wall.
Which seems to not work anymore.
Mostly finished. All he had to do is finish certain areas. It could have taken.
Look at this wall. I mean, all they had to do was paint this black and it would have kept these monsters out. Look at that. Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda. MS-13. There's 3 MS-13s over there. This is brutal. Look at that. It's just monsters. And they're allowed to play PlayStation. This is Joe Biden's America.
Taken a month. And he said he's not.
Look at they're learning to tumble. That's how they get over the wall. Did you see that kid? Like that.
Going to do it, and it's shocking, but it still helped. And we had the best numbers we ever had. And
they're bringing skin diseases. You can tell.
They ought to finish that wall. It would take a month, and they got to paint the wall.
Yeah, they have to paint it. I mean, nobody respects an unpainted wall.
Doesn't sound very glamorous, but you paint it, or it rusts.
Yeah, that's the problem. Somebody should have thought that through. Maybe, I don't know, put the slat things up and then put concrete around them and then had smaller slips in between and then maybe, never mind.
And we were all set to start. And then we had a rigged election. And the numbers, I mean, it's so ridiculous what happened in that election. That election was totally rigged. It was rigged. It was stolen.
Jesus Christ. He's now the dude at the end of the bar. He's just, you know what? I'd have been there once for the rigged election. Shut up, Stan.
It was corrupt. The most we've ever seen in our country in the history. I mean, more corrupt than most other elections in third world countries. So we had a rigged election and things.
Well, you tried. You tried to rig it, and you failed. That's the problem. He's like, there was all this fraud. I know, I paid for it, and still it wasn't enough.
Changed. And
there's no way Biden could have beat me. I paid for all these votes, and somehow he got them.
They took.
You can't buy good service anymore.
Over, and as soon as they took over, they opened up our country to prisoners, to convicts, to drug dealers and drug addicts, and they opened it up to murderers and traffickers, human traffickers, mostly women.
Mostly women. Here's a person passing a child over. This is the footage of the little kid dropping,
by the way. They destroyed it. It took them 2 months. Now, yesterday we had a big victory in the Supreme Court where the stay in Mexico. I had everybody staying in Mexico, couldn't come into the country, but where stay in Mexico was just upheld, and it was a big, big victory.
No, they just have to reword how they get rid of it.
But you see,
he just did it with an executive order, and they're saying it's held by more policy, so you can't do it immediately. It's just stupid.
It was really a big victory for the country
Wasn't it?
Because what was happening was people were coming in, and they were just allowing them to spread all over the country.
No, they weren't.
And when you talk about COVID, they weren't tested.
Yes, they were.
They didn't wear masks, and they didn't do vaccinations. They're
Well, yeah, don't you respect their freedom?
infected people. Same thing with
These are infected people.
all of the people we're taking out of Afghanistan. So those people.
Just, yeah, all the people, yeah, we're bringing up COVID from Afghanistan. Yeah. The Alo Akbar variant is his big fear
Are
currently.
now being spread all over the world, and they're not tested for COVID, and they don't
Yes, they are.
have masks. They don't have. I feel very badly for those people, but
But they're disgusting and filthy and diseased, and they're spreading stuff. Jesus.
the whole world is going to get reinfected.
Because of these stupid Afghans, which we should have left there to die. What?
And your
What a
reaction,
decision.
your assessment of the woman who is meant to be in charge of the southern border.
Wait a minute. A woman? Ew. When did that shit start? A woman's in charge of the southern border? You mean she's in charge of the process to deal with the uptick, so...
Who, when she's asked about it, nervously laughs or cackles and says, well, I haven't been to Europe yet. Or when she gets off the plane in Asia, Kamala is asked about the situation in Afghanistan and likewise laughs at the reporter asking questions. Your take on the person who...
Yeah, anybody who mocks a reporter, that's gross. You know what I mean? I agree. Go ahead. Oops, sorry.
supposed to be securing the border.
Well, it's very sad, and she didn't want that job. And
well, she didn't have to worry about it. The wall took care of it, so she could just fly off to Asia. That's the great thing about a wall, right? It works like a charm.
She basically hasn't accepted that job because it would look like she's not doing anything on the border. He's not doing anything. We have open borders where millions of people are pouring through those borders. And I'm not talking thousands or hundreds of thousands. I'm talking about millions and millions of people.
Oh, it's millions and millions and millions of people. I mean, 1,000,001 over the course of the entire year, 90% of which are directly rejected, but millions and
coming
millions.
Up through those borders. And they're coming in from the Middle East as well as Mexico and other places.
We're going to continue our discussion with President Trump, my former boss in the White House, 45th Commander-in-Chief here on the Salem Radio Network. If you want to continue listening to our discussion, I don't really, but I kind of have to. Video streaming it at rumble.com. Mr. President, I have to ask you, we're very excited. I've said publicly here on America First, I've said it on numerous interviews on Newsmax and elsewhere, that before I saw you recently in New York, I had a 95% certitude that you would be running again. After I saw you, I said it is a 99.9% certitude that you're running. If you run, as far as I'm concerned, you're going to win.
Well, of course you have to say that.
What is a second administration going to be like? And as far as I'm concerned, if I may, as a former insider, the key question is going to be personnel. We need to build the bench that helps staff you and doesn't subvert you.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's because last time you ran on this whole thing about the best people and you can bring in the best people and the best people and it was the best people, hashtag the best people. And you didn't bring in even good people. Most of those people sucked or they were outright sabotaging you or just fuck-ups. And how would people, how would you find those true America First patriots like me and don't fire me again?
What are your plans? What would the second term look like? And who's going to build that bench for you, sir?
Well, first of all, for your listeners, you did a fantastic job. You were terrific. I deal with you a lot. And
I deal with you a lot.
Dealt with you after you went out and made a fortune. I hope you're making a fortune anyway, but I think you are based on your ratings. But I dealt with you a lot, and that's...
I dealt with you a lot. Yes, it seemed like if Sebastian Gorka worked for you, you would have to deal with him. Also, I'm just saying, we've all seen Glenn Beck's studio. And Glenn Beck's making money hand over fist in this situation. Look at the knobs on the gear right here in Sebastian Gorka's studio. Somebody has just not even come in here and bothered to swap these fucking things out. Like this is 1978 stuff. Like this is still there from when Howard Hessman took his DUI test in the old KRP studios. Look at this. I mean, they've even just taken out pieces of the rig that was on the desk for no good reason. I mean, I'm just saying I don't buy the idea that he's making a fortune.
That's why I do your show, and I don't do a lot of other shows.
Well, that and they won't have you.
Do people that I respect and people that have been fair, and you've been really, I congratulate you. But you were very important, and the great job that you did. You have a knowledge. I heard the word strategist mentioned in the opening.
Yeah, what does that mean, honestly, strategist? I haven't seen anybody in your cabinet that was capable of doing something like that. What does that mean to you?
You were a strategist, and that's really what Biden needs. He needs somebody to help him because our country is embarrassed. Our country has never been embarrassed like they are right now.
No, it's not embarrassing to have the highest number of COVID deaths. No, that's not. I guess not.
In the speech in Alabama, where we had a massive crowd, they say 68,000 people showed up in the rain. It was rain and thunder. And I had the idea the morning of, this was Saturday, the morning of, put up the General Patton, the opening monologue that he does in the movie.
That was the idea. He had that idea that morning.
Patton, which I don't know if it got the Academy Award or very close. And I think George C. Scott did get the Academy Award. But we put up the opening monologue, and I said, that is not a woke general, but it's a general that knows how to win. And we have guys that are more interested in things that have nothing to do with our military. It's really what's going on now is crazy.
And he's black. Yikes. Do you understand what we're trying to say about the guy who's running stuff right now? Clearly.
With our whole country, what they're doing now to our country is...
This is, by the way, when you hear our woke generals and they care more about woke stuff, what they mean is they believe he's an affirmative action hire. That's what that all is rooted in, just for the record. That Austin is an affirmative action hire. That's where they, and that's what he's saying. They need a strategist. This is that's what they're talking about.
Absolutely frightening.
Well, you kind of nailed it. You summarized the reality of the culture war in those famous lines at the weekend. It's inspired us. We've even got new T-shirts. If you agree with the president, you need to check out If You're Woke, that means you're a loser. We've designed them already.
If you're woke, you're a loser. Yeah, high quality designs there, guys. Shit. I mean, know your audience, I guess, but that's just crap.
But I like how you did the cursive, and then when woke and loser are both in all caps printed.
But it's 3 colors, so there you go.
You can get them at the sebgorkastore.com. It says, if you're woke, you're a loser, and that's straight from my former boss, President Trump. Mr.
God damn, that's weak. I gotta start making 5 eggs shirts. At least mine are charming.
Trump, President Trump, can I ask you a very serious question about... Look...
No, you're an inserious human being.
The people love you. They come out in their tens of thousands. As somebody said on my show, there is nobody since FDR who can move tens of thousands of people...
into the ICU?
With the love that you have, Mr. President. What is your message?
No president in American history has moved more Americans into refrigerated morgue trucks.
To those, there are a lot of people out there who voted for you twice.
Yeah, and got caught.
Who after last November have said, that's it, it's over, I give up, they're going to steal it again. What do you say to those Americans who've lost hope, Mr. President?
Please salvage us from our own bullshit.
Well, first of all, one of the reasons they come out in the kind of numbers when you have 60, 70, 80,000 people showing up. We did one in Florida that was massive. We did one in Ohio that was incredible. I mean, there has actually never been anything like this whole movement.
Well, sure there has. Jim Jones, the Manson family.
Of America First.
David Koresh.
Or you could say Make America Great Again. There are plenty of definitions, but there's never been a movement like this. And they are looking for hope. And you know what happened in the
She quit, didn't she?
last election is terrible. So we won 2 elections. We did better the second time, by the way. I don't know if you know that, Sebastian,
Yes.
but we got 12 million more votes the second time. We
And still lost.
did much better the second time than we did the first time.
It's amazing how, like, mail-in voting actually helps.
But when something's rigged, it's rigged. And my message to them, we may have to do it a third time. Okay, that's the bottom line. But my message to them is keep fighting, keep strong. We're not going to let it happen. They're not going to take our country away. It's going to be bigger and better and stronger than ever, but we're going to have to do something because we have some very, very sick people. They're very evil, too. We've got a lot of evil people.
Oh, evil. They're evil. So Joe Biden's evil, Kamala Harris is evil. So as to say, evil.
But we've got people that I really believe do not love our country.
Well, that's very, very patriotic of you.
You gave one of the 2 most impressive speeches you gave during my time in the White House, as far as I'm concerned,
We're both on the toilet.
were the very first address to Congress, to the joint session, and then afterwards your Warsaw speech. I just want to play a very small snippet to remind people
Yes.
of what a commander-in-chief looks like,
When he's reading Wikipedia entries.
and then to ask you how this applies today with the Taliban. This is your first address to the joint session of Congress, and you're discussing the then threat of ISIS. Cut 2.
I directed the Department of Defense to develop a plan to demolish and destroy ISIS, a network of lawless savages that have slaughtered Muslims and Christians and men and women and children of all faiths and all beliefs. We will work with our allies, including our friends and allies in the Muslim world, to extinguish this vile enemy from our planet.
Just filled his diaper right then.
Since then, we have seen very disturbing things, Mr. President. We have a Secretary of Defense called Lloyd Austin
Who is, I don't know if you know this, black.
testifying on Capitol Hill, saying he's going to hunt down enemies inside the armed forces. We've got...
Well, yeah, they have white supremacists in there who are seeking to undermine the United States government. You know, that shit that is related to the flag you have on your wall?
Mark Milley saying that he's fine with critical race theory. He doesn't know what it is, but it's great, and he loves studying white rage
Thank
because
you,
he's
Thomas Anna.
white. How concerned are you, and how tough will it be for you? What plans do you have for your second term to deal with the wokeification, the politicization of the greatest military the world has ever seen, Mr. President?
Yeah, what if we end up letting women serve and everybody like the Israelis do?
Well, when you say the greatest military the world has ever seen, as I said, woke is losers. And I used another word to describe woke, but we won't use it on your radio show. I can do that at a rally, but I'd rather not use it on your radio show. You know the word I'm talking about. That's woke. And take a look happened, you know, you talk about the greatest military, but take a look at what happened in Afghanistan. I mean...
Whoa. Yeah, you heard that right. Former President Trump shitting on the military for not winning Afghanistan because it would have required murdering hundreds of thousands of civilians.
We beat the Nazis, but look at this. We're being sent out of Afghanistan.
We're not being sent out. We don't want to stay.
And frankly, the August 31st date is not being lengthened because they're not allowing him to do it.
He already extended it past the May 1st deadline. They wouldn't allow it in your negotiations to go past May 1st.
It's not because of him. It's because they're not allowing him any more time. Whoever thought this was possible?
You set the date at May 1st and did no prep.
So with this woke culture, our military is going
that? And by the way, how is that woke? What the fuck?
to be a loser, and the whole country is going to be a loser. So the bottom line is we have to change.
So the military are losers, according to Trump. I can understand why we'd want to be on a show called America First.
And it was all done by an election that was just fraudulent. It was a fraudulent election. And this is how
God, get over yourself.
we have it. And, you know, they're changing the whole culture. We're becoming a communist state.
No, we're not.
Everybody's being prosecuted. There are prosecutors all over the place.
Yeah, when did we get prosecutors? That's weird. Like, I thought they were only on the show Law and Order, and then I find out they're actually doing Law and Order. I don't know what the fuck.
They're using the Justice Department and local prosecutors at a level that nobody's seen before. All of the things.
Well, they've never had as criminal a former president before. Maybe that's why.
That are happening. This is like a communist country that's being run, and it's a disgrace. I will tell you, Bill Barr certainly didn't do this stuff, and
yeah, probably a commie.
You know, he got a little scared when they started talking they were going to impeach him. But this
yeah, Gorka's Bill Barr.
This is a terrible thing that's happening to our country. What's happening to our country
is a terrible thing.
Is happening at a level that we've never
that no one's ever seen before.
And in addition to that, we're really losing our military, because who would think that our military is fleeing Afghanistan?
This asshole was just saying, I would get everybody out. What's the difference between getting everybody out and fleeing? What the fuck?
We had it under total control, and I let the leader know, you will be hit like no country's ever been hit. And he fully understood that.
He understood that while we say we're leaving, we're actually staying. I'm only saying we're staying to you, but we're leaving to the American people so that they know we're staying when we leave and leaving when we stay. You understand? Stay, leave.
He wasn't going to do anything. And again, we didn't lose a soldier in 18 months because of me.
Because you didn't do anything in 18 months.
Because of our agreement. It was a very strong agreement. And if they didn't fulfill all the conditions, then we bombed the hell out of them.
Which means staying.
We were in the strongest position. It was not possible for us to lose. And I wanted to get out, as we were there long.
You mean flee?
Long enough. We were there 21 years.
Yeah, 21 years is long enough. You got to flee at that point.
It's like a police force. I wanted to get out. And we would have gotten out with total dignity. It would have actually been a win. It would have been a win.
How?
Now we're getting out with the worst loss in the history of our country, in the history of our military.
How? What? Honest to God, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I would have gotten out, and it would have been macho and clean, and, nothing would have happened. And that's why and it's so easy, too. I could have done it so easily. I didn't. And the guy who is getting out is dealing with the real stuff. But then, my favorite piece of this whole thing is clearly that he's saying we would have left Afghanistan but still had Bagram Air Force Base.
Yesterday, the GOP received a classified briefing behind closed doors from the Pentagon and the intelligence community, Mr. President. Afterwards, a man who is not known for his hyperbole, the chairman of the committee, Mike McCall, said, "We will not be able to get all Americans out by the deadline, and
because a bunch don't want to leave.
There will be blood on Biden's hands."
Well, yeah, that's the part he's selling.
Is there any scenario under your commandership as the president that you would have left Americans in Afghanistan?
Yeah, we would have darted all of the ones that didn't want to leave.
Zero. Now,
zero. Well, yes, you're right. There's no chance he would have left people behind when we left Afghanistan, because he would have never left Afghanistan.
Some might want to stay there. Have all different kinds of people and people. That's why you have menus in restaurants. People order different things.
What? That's why you have menus in restaurants.
Okay, there's some people possibly want to stay there. Even Americans, maybe, for whatever reason.
But people who want to get out, would you have left anybody there who wanted to get out?
No. Anybody wanted to get out, they would have come out, and they would have come out in an orderly manner.
Yeah, you wouldn't see all this. We would have snuck out. No one would have even known we were gone.
It wouldn't be rushed out, and if you don't have it by August 31st, we're going to leave you there. Because once we leave, but we're being pushed around by them. Biden is being dictated to by the Taliban. It's not even possible to believe.
You're right. It isn't possible to be believed because you're making it up.
And ISIS is tougher than Taliban, and I wiped out 100% of the ISIS caliphate.
Apparently not.
Oh, that you were there.
Yes.
And by the way,
because they've been hitting Afghanistan for a year and a half.
The caliphate was building and building and building at a level that nobody's seen. Obama and Biden lost total control. I wiped it out. You know, we have great generals in there, but you don't know them. They're not the television generals. They're the real generals.
Is it fair to say, would
No.
you use the word surrender when it comes to Biden and the Taliban? Is that what he's doing in Afghanistan today?
A total and complete surrender.
So the deal that would have gotten us out 3 months ago, not surrender. And if you'd have left quietly and no one would have ever known we were gone, that's not fleeing.
I've never seen anything like it. For no reason. We had it so powerful.
We had it so powerful. We had it so powerful. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that sentence means either.
They wouldn't have done anything until we were gone. Then they can go back to their civil war, but they wouldn't have had much of one because I always said Ghani would be gone. Everybody would flee. You know, that's what happened. I mean, let's face it, it's ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know why we're there, but then I would have stayed, but left at the same time.
We paid so much money. We paid them salaries, and
We paid them salaries, sure.
they were there to collect the salary. You know that. So do I. So does everyone. And I said it's going to, once we leave, I said, before we leave, Ghani will be gone. He'll take cash. You know, everything I said has turned out to be exactly right.
Which is why you never left, because everybody knew that. Everybody knew it was a shit show when we left. That's why you didn't leave. If you knew Ghani was going to leave and the military was going to collapse, what the fuck were you staying for? For all 4 years of your goddamn presidency. What? What kept us there?
But we should leave. There's no reason.
Well, excuse me, not leave. Flee is the word you were using.
Spending $40 billion a year in Afghanistan, $40 billion. Russia's entire budget is $50 billion. We were spending $40 billion a year in Afghanistan. And obviously, when you look at what happened, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, the soldiers fought. They fought because they were being paid a lot of money by the U.S. taxpayer.
Just to translate that, it is a huge sum of money. Let's translate that. It's $60 million a day. The United States has invested $60 million every single day for 20 years. We're going to continue. It is a disgrace. We're continuing our discussion.
If it's a disgrace, why didn't you stop it 3 years ago?
With President Trump. Mr. Trump, it is clear that the left has become radical. This is a party...
Radical, Chuck!
...that is socialist or communist.
I don't know, whatever. Just pick one of them. They're the same thing.
They want to destroy this country, not just the squad, but also the other radical elements. However, it is my contention as somebody who served in the White House, who saw the extent of the deep state.
Oh, here it comes, the deep state.
At the highest levels of our U.S. government, that perhaps the greatest threat is the permanent state, is the
people who actually do the work.
Deep state. How aggressive will you be in your second term to root out those who don't believe the American people
get out all these bad actors and bring in more of those people you like to hire who are complete fuck-ups.
To choose their president.
So we had some people in my first term. They've been there a long time, but they are deep state. There's no question about it. Look, I had great people. I had a lot of great people.
And a lot of not-so-great people.
We rebuilt the military. We rebuilt. Can you imagine? A lot of the things that I bought for our military have been handed over. $83 billion have been handed over to the Taliban. It's not even believable that...
You're right. It's not believable.
This could have happened by Biden. But we rebuilt the military. We did so many things. We were so good on health care. People don't realize it.
Yeah. Did you guys see his health care plan? I read it like 2 weeks from now.
We were so good on
everything.
Aspect, including the fact that we cut taxes more than any other administration in history. We
not even close to true.
Cut regulations. That's why our jobs were so good. We had more jobs than we had the greatest economy in history, probably the greatest economy in the history of the world.
Jimmy Carter created more jobs than Donald Trump. Double the number, by the way.
We had 160 million jobs. We've never even come close to that over the years, and certainly not even now. But I rebuilt the economy twice. I rebuilt it before COVID. I built it before COVID and then rebuilt it after COVID.
After COVID. Yeah, it's after. I don't know if you know that. After COVID was months ago.
But you see, COVID's coming back. Now, if I were president and COVID came back, there'd be front page stories. They don't even mention
Well, there are front page stories about it.
it with Biden. But COVID's coming back.
That's because it's all your supporters.
I mean, you look at the numbers are, in some cases, worse than they were before.
Yeah, because of a specific group of people.
And nobody blames Biden. But if
Yeah, because all the people that he can convince to get vaccinated have gotten vaccinated.
you look at Afghanistan, you look at COVID coming back, you look at many other things, including high taxes, high gasoline prices, the economy is going to be ruined because it's all phony, it's all fake. They're just pouring free money into the economy. You look at what's going on.
This dude signed $6 trillion worth of stimulus in 8 months.
We're gonna have an interesting period of time for the next 3 or 4 years. That I can tell you. Not good.
When it comes to
Not good, that I can tell you.
COVID on China,
Many shoves and zools knew what it was like to be roasted in the belly of the Zor that day, I can tell you.
I want to publicly recognize the debt of gratitude I have to you, Mr. President. You said originally that hydroxychloroquine is a game changer.
And it isn't.
When I caught COVID, I took it and I had 3 days of the sniffles. That's how powerful your leadership is. It is.
Yeah, if you hadn't blessed it, it wouldn't work nearly as well. Also, hydroxychloroquine works really well if you were going to be asymptomatic.
Sad that that reality is being denied. Today, Biden allegedly has been briefed by the intelligence community on a report that says it is inconclusive whether the China virus came from Wuhan. Your reaction to that unbelievable report being given to...
No, it's not. That's not exact. It said precisely they know it came from Wuhan. It's a city in the Hebei province. The question is, did it leak from the lab or was it released from the lab? Was it man-made? Was it biologically created? Was it natural? It's inconclusive. That's the part, not where it came from. Even the Chinese locked down Wuhan, then the Hebei province. Like, this is just weird.
Biden.
Well, it came from Wuhan and it came from China. They don't even talk about
Both?
it coming from China.
Yeah, they just keep saying it's from Wuhan. They don't even mention that it was originally in China.
And, they protect China, but because they're all making a lot of money out of China.
What, does he think Wuhan is a different country?
A lot of money. They're all making money out of China. And,
Not anymore.
they do the Russia thing. That was another hoax, one of the many hoaxes. But no, it's China's a threat. We can get along with China, and we can get along. I liked President Xi until the COVID came.
I liked the guy that I was playing 3-card Monte with on the subway until I started losing.
A great relation.
We had a great relationship until I found out later that the whole thing's rigged and they let you win a few in the beginning so that they can... son of a bitch.
Once that came, I call it the China virus. Once that came, it was a different kind of a deal, but I always had a good relationship with him, and he treated us with great respect. He's not treating them with respect, but he treated us with great respect.
Yeah, great respect. He signed a trade deal with you and only honored the first third of phase 1. Literally a third of the first third of the deal. Total respect.
And the vulnerability of this administration to blackmail or other national security threats, given the existence of the laptops from hell that we now know actually belong to Biden's son. How
Well, no, we don't actually.
much of a national security
You know Rudy Giuliani. How you think he could? If I asked in a cameo, do you think Rudy would hold up the laptop?
threat is that, Mr. President?
Well, they're very, very vulnerable to threats because I guess Hunter has at least one or two, because if you look at the last tape from 2 weeks ago, that, by the way, the mainstream media doesn't report. That would have been 5, 6, 7 years ago. That would have been the biggest story of the year.
Right, but then you came in and were such a massive fuck-up for 4 years. Everybody else's scandals seem minor by comparison.
Top where he's talking to whoever he's talking to. I don't know where she came from.
Christ.
But that whole thing is That is a massive scandal, but they don't talk about it. It's not on the mainstream media. Look,
Yeah, I don't know why.
The mainstream media is so dishonest.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously making so many deals with China right now, and we're just doing everything. I mean, obviously, the vice president told them that, when she was down there, that we won't tolerate them being, using military adventurism in the South China Seas, and that's something that you never actually said. But, never mind.
You have a laptop that...
A laptop.
I think maybe I was the first one to call it the laptop. Now it's called the laptops from hell.
Yes.
There's unbelievable information.
Is that the nickname?
That he's worried about coming out. So there seems like there's another one if you listen to that conversation. No, they're very, very vulnerable. There's no question about it.
Yeah, so vulnerable. It's amazing. I don't even know how we're going to deal. Probably the Chinese wanted us out of Afghanistan, probably.
Mr. President, I want to thank you on behalf of the
Then just do it.
74 million
Then just do it.
Americans who voted for you. You didn't have to run for the presidency.
And we would appreciate it if you don't do it again.
You were famous enough, rich enough. You didn't need this job.
No, actually, he desperately needed this job, and he was not famous or rich enough. He's in debt up to his eyeballs.
You did it, and I want to thank the First Lady as well for putting up with the disgusting calumny, the attacks for 4 years that still continue against you and your whole family. What is your message? We have 3
Yeah, where is she?
million listeners, then we have millions of followers on social media.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's not the overlapping same number of people or any bot numbers at all.
On our video streams. What is your message to the 74 million people who voted for you and the future of America?
Yeah, and it's much higher than that number actually is.
But yeah, but don't thank those people. Only the ones you actually have in the numbers.
It's turning out much, much higher
Yes.
than that number. My message is keep the faith, keep praying, keep working, don't give up, don't ever give up. We're going to bring our country back. We made America great. We're going to make it great again and again, because it's really, make America great again. Now it's make America great again.
Oh, God. That was a fucking joke 3 years ago.
If you think about it.
Yeah, I have been thinking about it. It's still a joke.
But just keep fighting.
Just keep at it. Keep sending money.
Keep your spirit going, because the spirit...
And by spirit, I mean cash.
now is greater than I've ever seen it, Sebastian. I've never seen the spirit as strong as it is right now.
Jesus.
And we will end up doing some incredible things.
Yes, like sending about 20% of your supporters directly to a cemetery.
In the not-too-distant future.
And you're never
save
giving
our
up.
country.
You're never giving up, are you, sir?
Never give up, ever. We can never give up. And we can never let things like happened in Afghanistan happen again. That's a disgrace.
You mean staying in for 20 years? Or oh, yeah, staying in for another 4 years while the president pretends to give a shit.
The greatest embarrassment in the history of our country.
Thank you, sir, for taking time to share your views and your future plans with all of our millions of listeners here on the
Dozens.
Salem Radio Network with me on America
Excuse me, it's pronounced Salem.
First. God bless you. God bless your family. And please keep doing what you do.
Well, he's can't do anything else. Shit.